Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. So we stopped here at who is the doer. Just recap a few paras before that.
Jai Gurudev, yeah. Who is the doer before that? Yeah.
Whom does one kill or cause to kill? Bringing up one more point in his summary, Krishna asks, whom does that person destroy? Kam hanti. Whom does he impel to kill? Kam ghatayati. There are two types of action reflected here. One is the action that you do, and the other is the action that you make others do. In a robbery, for example, there is the accused number one and the accused number two. One may have performed the act of driving the getaway car, while the other performed the act of driving the driver. There is someone who performs the felony, and there is someone else behind it. The one behind the felony is the accused, and the one who performed it is only an accomplice. The accused is an important person, the kingpin, whereas the other one is only a pin. But both of them perform action. How can one who knows Atma perform the action of killing, and whom does he or she kill? Where is the person being killed? Where is that action? A question is not really being posed here. For instance, we are not trying to find out by what means the killing is done, nor are we trying to find out why the person does it or whether he or she kills. This is not the intent here. Rather, how can one kill and whom does one kill is being looked into. There should be some vikriya on one's part in order to perform the action, and Atma is avikriya. A doubt may arise here. If there is no vikriya for Atma, and the Atmajna knows that Atma, the I, is not the performer of any action, how then can that person perform any action? What is to be understood here is that Atma does not perform any action. It does not kill, nor cause anyone to kill, because Atma does not even wish. It is the Swarupa of every wish. The wish is a Nama Rupa, a thought. And if you press the thought, it ends up in Atma, wherein there is no thought anywhere. Thus, any given thought or desire is mithya, and the doership is also mithya. So, the knower of the Atma, the Atmajna, he cannot perform any action and he does not cause any action to be performed. Any thought requires a thought, any action requires a desire, which is a thought. And that desire is mithya. It's only a nama rupa because it has a thought has words in it and the words have nama rupa. Whereas Atma is the swarupa of every wish. Atma does not kill nor cause anyone to kill because Atma does not even wish. It is the swarupa of every wish. The wish is a nama rupa, a thought, and if you press the thought, it ends up in Atma, wherein there is no thought anywhere. Thus, any given thought or desire is mithya, and the doership is also mithya. If you analyze who the doer is, you find that the doer is nothing but consciousness, Chaitanya. That is, the doer disappears in the Chaitanya and is not there at all. When the doer is there, Chaitanya is there. Whereas in the Chaitanya, there is no doer. Therefore, there is only drama. There is no real doer, only an as though doer. It is as though he or she hears, as though listens, as though talks, as though walks, and as though stands. There is no doership in Atma because Atma is always free. The notion that I am the performer of the action is the source of action we talk about here. Where is an action without a karta? Without the doership kartritva, there is no real action at all. Therefore, the doership is the one that gives the blood, bones, and flesh necessary for the action to be an action and for the karma phala to be the karma phala, the result you enjoy. The whole cycle is based upon the kingpin, the karta. So the karta is the kingpin, and the accomplice, the second accused, so to say, is all the body, mind, sense equipment, intellect, ego equipment. So the kartritva is from the karta, the doership, from the doer. Whereas the doer itself is mithya. Because the doer is nothing but consciousness, Chaitanya. Whenever there is the doer, Chaitanya is there. When the doer is there, Chaitanya is there. Whereas in the Chaitanya, there is no doer. So there is no doer apart from Chaitanya. Because Chaitanya is the Swarupa of every wish, of every thought, of even the doer. The doer exists because of Chaitanya. Whereas in the Chaitanya, there is no doer. Who is the doer? Without the karta, there is no karma or karma phala. The karta is defined as the one who decides and performs action. He or she has kriya, etc., and therefore can choose from the hundreds of verbal routes for doing that are available. The doer can choose to kill, to speak, or to do any of the varieties of actions possible. But for the Atma, which is avikriya, free from any change, there is no kartritva. Where then is the question of how and whom with reference to killing? Katam ghatayati, katam hanti, kam ghatayati, kam hanti. The word hanti here is only contextual and has nothing to do with killing as such. Shankara says the expression is purely with reference to action. What kind of action does the person perform, and what kind of action does he or she cause anyone else to perform? A question may then arise here. If a person is a sarva karma sannyasi and has given up all karmas, will he or she not perform any action at all? Does the person not continue to perform some actions? Does he or she not teach? Does the person not do anything? Not even eat, walk, or talk? How can you say that one who still performs these actions is a sarva karma sannyasi? Sarva karma sannyasi is the one who does not have the notion that I am the doer. That is, the one who does not have kartritva buddhi. For such a person, there is no doership in the Atma. You are not a sarva karma sannyasi by merely not doing karma. You may be a karma sannyasi, but not a sarva karma sannyasi. Even if you do not do any karma, if you have kartritva buddhi, you are still only a samsari. A sarva karma sannyasi is a jnani, one who is totally free from all karmas. Even if karmas are performed, the jnani does not perform any action. In this, he or she has no doubt whatsoever because, with reference to the Atma, the Self, the notion of doership is not there. All that takes place for the jnani is that the sense organs, backed by the mind, engage themselves in their own fields of activity. The jnani does not look upon himself or herself as the karta. This is the actual meaning of sarva karma sannyasa.
Can you explain again? That last paragraph, can you read it again, Dr. Brahma? Like few lines, I missed it. Like Sarva Karma Sannyasi.
So, who is the doer is the question. So, we've seen that in order to be a doer, there needs to be in order to have an action, to any action requires a desire or wish. And a desire, a wish is a thought, which is a nama rupa. Therefore, every wish is mithya. And Atma is the swarupa of every wish. So every action, every karta, doer, whenever there is a doer, there is Chaitanya, there is Atma, because that is the one that is illumining the doer. Whereas in Chaitanya, there is no doer. So when Atma is this non-doer, does not have doership, then how can the Atma kill? How and whom with reference to killing? Katam ghatayati, katam hanti, kam ghatayati, kam hanti. So then the question is, if a sarva karma sannyasi is there, who knows that he is the Atma and he is the non-doer, does he not perform any actions at all? Then it goes on. Swamiji goes on to explain that he, a sarva karma sannyasi, is a jnani who has no notion that he is the doer. He can still talk, walk, do. His sense organs, along with the mind, continue to do those activities. But he is in that state of non doership. I will read this last para as requested. Sarva karma sannyasi is the one who does not have the notion that I am the doer. That is the one who does not have kartritva buddhi. For such a person, there is no doership in the Atma. You are not a sarva karma sannyasi by merely not doing karma. You may be a karma sannyasi, but not a sarva karma sannyasi. So, karma sannyasi we've seen is the one who gives up all actions, ritual and
Our religious duties and it's
yeah,
obligatory duties.
and
Yeah.
yeah, all
Mm.
all enjoined and religious duties. All those are given up by the
Mhm.
karma sannyasi.
Mhm.
But he may still have the doership. Whereas
Mhm.
the karma sannyasi is the one. A sarva karma sannyasi is a jnani, one who is totally free from all karmas. Even if karmas are performed, the jnani does not perform any action.
Yes, it's not a karta. Mm.
In this, he or she has no doubt whatsoever because, with reference to the Atma, the self, the notion of doership is not there. All that takes place for the jnani is that the sense organs, backed by the mind, engage themselves in their own fields of activity. The jnani does not look upon himself or herself as a karta. This is the actual meaning of sarva karma sannyasa.
The first paragraph explained about the karma, right, Dr. Brahmara?
Uh,
Very first, who the doer, where you read few lines. Yeah,
yeah.
here.
Here it
The-
is said
Mm.
without karta there is no karma and no karma phala. So they are
Mm.
interrelated. Karma phala comes only from karma. It is the result of an action. If
Okay, okay,
it is
got it.
an
Okay.
action,
Mm. Okay.
for
So
an action to
karta is
happen, you
more
need
like
a
a subject, and then the object is the karma, and the karma pala is the effect.
Yeah.
of the karma. Okay. Cause and effect. Karta is defined as one who decides and performs action. That's that definition was I was thinking. Okay. Who decides and performs the action. So the deciding factor is in the mind, right? And then the perform action by the organs, indriyas. Yeah. So the Nani performs the action with the sense organs and the mind. That's what the deciding and performing the action. But they are not karta.
The sense organs and the mind, they continue to do their job.
Job, yeah.
Because
He
has been
doesn't
the
think
sense
is
of
a
that.
karta. Mm.
That notion is not there, no? The notion
Right, right. He's
that,
not doing anything. That's a thing. Okay. Whereas the karma sannyasi, he still have the doership.
yeah.
Mm.
See
So
that thing,
here,
a
mm,
statement is all is a drama.
mm,
All this is mithya, as though speaks, as though talks, as though hears.
right. But
So
then here, the question here is like, who is the doer, right? The doer, they're trying to define that part here. The doer is basically, like you said, as though uh, doing it, but it is done by this nama rupa stuff. Mm.
It
You
happens
know how
because
we
of the Chetna, but the Chetna is not the doer.
how we take it as we are doing something. Say that I am doing, I wash my clothes or something like that. That that washing is uh, the kriya. The clothes like object, I be like the subject, right? So, but then again, that I part is not the atma. This is all done by this body and the mind,
if you
sense
take yourself
organs.
to
Mm.
an in a dream, what happens? It is
Then
as though you are
things
being
are happening.
projected into
Yeah.
different forms, beings, actions.
Mm.
So many
Mm.
actions happening in the dream.
Right.
But who is the doer? There is only one. There is only one. That is you, the dreamer.
Mm.
Is because of you, everything is the dream is. Similarly, because of Atma, there is that doer. There is that dream. But is the dream is because of Chaitanya, because of the dreamer, the person who is dreaming. Here you can, if you extrapolate the dreamer to be Atma, with reference to the dream. In
Yeah.
the waking state, the Atma is with reference to the all the actions that we're doing in the waking state. So
Right.
in the dream,
I am not minusing that part of it.
ah,
But like when the doer is there, the Chaitanya is there. So without Chaitanya, we won't be able to do anything
correct.
in the first place. And then of course, yeah, even the eyes we are seeing means that seeing is even lightened by the Atma only, right? I mean that the even hearing part also given by that by the Atma, which gives that ability to hear. So it's not just, I mean, that because the eye sees by itself, it, it's not, right? So that's where the Chaitanya is there, doer is there. But doer is not in Chaitanya. That's what we read earlier. Sorry, go ahead what you were saying.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sense of how we apply it in everyday basis, even though we read it so many times, we still forget the doership. In the end, we say Krishna Arpanamastu. But then I try to remember it, like you said, the do it with the Yajna Bhava, that that to be done without having that like that dislike to be done, like any chore at home or something like that, you know. So in that part, I'm able to do it. But then this sometimes you come up with this, I am doing it, which I am not doing it.
Till the Deha Bhava is stronger, we will feel
Mm.
like. Mhm.
Yeah, we say that like, oh, I'm hurt, my body aches because I did this work, or leg hurts, I walked, or something like that, right? So mm I don't want to put it in that. I always think about it when we are reading it, and more I think about it, I think it will get in my thinking. I won't think like that.
Hmm. So, the real meaning of sannyasa, the
Mm.
person who is a sarva karma sannyasi is called a vidwan, one who is wise. All the karma that the vidwan has done so far, all the prayers, yoga, and other forms of discipline, and even a life of sannyasa have found their fulfillment in this sarva karma sannyasa. Thereafter, Shankara says there is no question of such a person doing certain karmas in order to create some result. There is nothing more to do. All the prayers have been fulfilled in this particular discovery, and it is for this discovery alone that the prayers and other karmas were performed. In this way, Shankara connected Vedanta Shastra to the Karma Shastra. Karma Yoga is meant for this alone. Thus, sannyasa is really Sarva Karma Sannyasa. For the Sarva Karma Sannyasi, there are no karmas to be performed. The point here is that the rituals enjoined by the Shastra need no longer be performed by the Sarva Karma Sannyasi. If the person continues to be a householder, he or she is purely playing out previous karma, prarabdha karma, and whatever one was doing is continued. King Janaka was a case in point. Although he was considered a wise man, he continued to be the ruler of a kingdom and was not bothered by the role at all. Like Janaka, one can be a wise person and be in the world, or be a sannyasi without playing any roles, having given up everything to pursue knowledge. Either way, it is possible. Being a jnani has nothing to do with what the jnani seemingly does and does not do. This is what is meant by Sarva Karma Sannyasa as established in the Shastra and elaborated upon here by Shankara. When you say, I am affected, then Atma is looked upon as an object, a karma that has something affecting it. This object can be a person, an event, or even Ishvara. Anyone who looks upon Atma as an object does not know Atma. The samsari's ignorance, ajnana, is such that not only does the person look upon himself or herself as a karma object, but also as a karta, which only heightens the ajnana. Hmm. I will read this one more time, but let me just finish this para. One looks upon oneself as a doer, otherwise, one could not be a sinner. Unless a person performs action, there is no way of sinning, nor is there any way of gathering karmas and karma phalas. Some people do not take the body as Atma, but believe that there is a survivor of this body. Most religious people believe this to be so. Even the nihilists, Buddhists, believe that you are born again and again. Therefore, moksha for them is realizing that the Atma is a zero, non existent. They believe in the survival of the Atma until enlightenment, whatever their concept of enlightenment may be. Thus, in all religions, they talk of an Atma other than the physical body, referred to as the soul, that which survives death. Any given soul is the Karta, he or she is the sinner, and so on. It is a belief, but at the same time, people do not look upon that Atma, the survivor, the soul, as one who is subject to all kinds of karma, all kinds of punya, papa, imperfections, and so on, and as one who may get some kind of bliss experience later. It is a belief, but at the same time, people do look upon that Atma, the survivor, the soul, as one who is subject to all kinds of karma, all kinds of punya, papa, imperfections, and so on, and as one who may get some kind of bliss experience later. All these beliefs were negated here by Krishna. Bhashyakara mentions specifically those who consider themselves to be great scholars and yet say there is no way of knowing the Atma. They say that knowledge of the Atma free from kartritva, doership, is not possible, and therefore sarvakarma sannyasa is also not possible. So this is the people who consider that Atma is like the Buddhists and the other religions, who consider and attribute karma to Atma. So I'm just going to go back and read this one more time. The real meaning of sannyasa. The person who is a sarva karma sannyasi is called a vidwan, one who is wise. All the karma that the vidwan has done so far, all the prayers, yoga, and other forms of discipline, and even a life of sannyasa have found their fulfillment in this sarva karma sannyasa. Thereafter, Shankara says, there is no question of such a person doing certain karmas in order to create some result. We saw that karma phala is linked to karma and kartritva. So here the sarva karma sannyasi has no kartritva at all. So there is no question. Karma is being performed, but there is no karma phala that is accruing to him. There is nothing more to do. All the prayers have been fulfilled in this particular discovery, and it is for this discovery alone that the prayers and other karmas were performed. In this way, Shankara connected Vedanta Shastra to the Karma Shastra. So, this is the link between the Karma Kanda and the Vedanta.
About the prayers and the karmas.
Mm. Why? Because all this is required for the Antakarana Shuddhi. For the
So
Raga.
so before they become sarva karma sannyasi, they have done the prayers, yoga, and the disciplines.
Yes.
Okay. So that is
That is the
done, and
Sarvakarma Sannyasa is the fulfillment of all of these prayers and karmas and yoga and meditation and everything that was done.
mm,
What is that led to? It is led to that ultimate discovery that
yeah,
all
that's
is just a notion.
yeah. I was wondering about the discovery, what they discover, discovering what, like Atma, that
Discovering that Atma is not a doer,
doer.
that Atma is full, Atma is Ananda, Atma is the truth. Atma.
There is nothing more to do. Okay. Okay.
In this way, Shankara connected Vedanta Shastra to the Karma Shastra. Karma Yoga is meant for this alone. So, Karma
Mm,
Yoga, the goal of Karma Yoga is again moksha, is this fulfillment, is this discovery.
mm,
Thus, sannyasa is really sarva karma sannyasa.
mhm.
So, this is the real meaning of sannyasa.
So, Shankara connected Vedanta Shastra to Karma Shastra. Karma Yoga is meant for this alone. So, all this, the prior part of it, preparation to this sannyasa, is Karma Yoga. And then you go into Sarva Karma Sannyasa. That's a jnana part. Is that what it is meant? The real meaning of sannyasa?
For the sarva karma sannyasi, there are no karmas to be performed. The point here is that the rituals enjoined by the Shastra need no longer be performed by the Sarva Karma Sannyasi. If the person continues to be a householder, he or she is purely playing out previous karma, prarabdha karma, and whatever one was doing is continued. If you take Krishna and Arjuna, for instance, Krishna is a jnani there. He need not do any karma, but he was in the role of the charioteer. So Arjuna just commanded him, take me to the center of the battlefield, to the middle of the battlefield. I want to see. So Krishna just did what he was supposed to do. So the person purely does, he's just playing the part, that's all, playing out previous karma. And whatever one was doing is continued. King Janaka was a case in point. This is an example of a person who is not taken to sannyasa. He was a kshatriya, King Janaka. He was ruling the kingdom. He's very much doing a lot of action. But although he was considered a wise man, he continued to be the ruler of a kingdom and was not bothered by the role at all. Like Janaka, one can be a wise person and be in the world or be a sannyasi without playing any roles, having given up everything to pursue knowledge. So, a wise person for a jnani need not take to the ochre robes in order to become sarvakarma sannyasi. He can, while doing his own job, whatever the job is, whichever ashrama he is in, he can still be a jnani. Either way, it is possible. So, Janaka, one can be like Janaka, one can be a wise person and be in the world, or be a sannyasi without playing any roles, having given up everything to pursue knowledge. Either way, it is possible. Being a jnani has nothing to do with what the jnani seemingly does and does not do. This is what is meant by Sarva Karma Sannyasa, as established in the Shastra and elaborated here by Shankara. So, this was the doubt we had, and this is what is clarified here. And this is what exactly Nana mentioned. I forgot to let you know. I discussed this with him, and he said a jnani does not necessarily be a sannyasi. To become a jnani, the qualification is sarva karma sannyasi. So that you can do, like King Janaka. He was an enlightened king. He continued to do what he was doing. Similarly, you can be an enlightened householder. You continue to do your household duties, but you are enlightened.
But it is also called Sarva Karma Sannyasa, right?
The
Like
actual
King
meaning of
Janaka.
sannyasa is what we saw, no? The
Mm,
actual meaning is giving up the doership.
right.
So no more karma. The kartritva is gone.
Right. So even this person, even though it's householder or a king, he's doing what he is, whatever he is supposed to be doing, but then he is considered as sarva karma sannyasa because he doesn't have the doership. That right? Either it be possible. Yeah, he seemingly does or does not do.
So either way it is possible. Being a jnani has nothing to do with what the jnani seemingly does and does not do.
Hmm.
This is what is meant by sarva karma sannyasa, as established in the Shastra and elaborated upon here by Shankara. When you say I am affected, then Atma is looked upon as an object, a karma that has something affecting it. When you say I am sad, or I am angry, or I am happy, you are looking upon Atma as an object, a karma that has something affecting it. This object can be a person, an event, or even Ishvara. Anyone who looks upon Atma as an object does not know Atma. The samsari's ignorance, ajnana, is such that not only does the person look upon himself or herself as a karma object, but also as a karta, which only heightens the ajnana. So it is rooting him. It is kind of cementing this ajnana when you think of yourself as an object of action as well as the doer, karta. And therefore you accrue karma phala, and then you are caught up in this eternal cycle of birth and death. So that granthi, prathama granthi, that knot is ajnana, comes from ajnana, karma, and karta. This is what binds you to this life, to the world, to the samsara. Out of ajnana is born that thought, that desire, that which is mithya again, to do any action. That desire itself is born of ajnana. And from that desire comes the action. And for an action, you need a karta. And when you have a action, there is also a karma phala that accrues to it. And in order to experience the karma phala, you need to take a birth again. So the cycle goes on. So how do we break that cycle? By slashing that initial root cause, that ajnana. Therefore, with the sword of knowledge, jnana khadgena. And see, no amount of karma you do will get you out of this cycle because karma only keeps binding you. But all the prayers, all the karma, all the rituals that a person has done leads to ultimate fulfillment. That is why pursuing knowledge is important along with doing all these rituals and prayers. As long as you're just doing karma kanda, it might not really get you there, right? So you need, although at some place,
That's only gives you limited and karma
limited
kanda.
end. That punya, you go, you accrue some punya, you go to heaven and then come back.
Uh,
But
yeah.
where somewhere the shift happens and the karma kandi turns to Vedanta.
Mm. That's for the knowledge.
That is also adrishta phala of whatever you prayers you're doing.
Mhm.
Because of that adrishta phala, you start asking these questions, basic questions. Who is this? Who am I praying to? What is this? And those when those basic questions start coming up, then you turn towards Vedanta Shastra. And Vedanta tells you, hey, listen, you are the Atma. You are not the doer. And then that all that karma, the prayers and all that lead to that discovery that you are the Atma. And when you discover that you are the Atma, all the karma phalas, the kartritva, karma, they all disappear. They all kind of they have no meaning. But
True.
he's still in the body form and he still has a prarabdha karma to follow through. He has to complete that prarabdha karma. So he continues to do whatever he's doing. The sense organs and the mind intellect complex, they continue to do, but he is unattached. He does not have the kartritva bhavana. That is the difference between a jnani, who is a sarva karma sannyasi, and a samsari. So instead of
A lot of questions comes up in mind, right? How do I know I'm not attached to any of these things, even though I think I am not attached? And also, like this paragraph is completely, it's happened like I am affected. That when you say I am affected, it's you're like I was explaining to you like the subject and the affected like karma and kriya and object or whatever. So when you try to do that itself, it is ajnana. So it's not like you can think like that. Is that right? Like, so basically, uh, each and every small thing we do, or even the thought itself, is itself a problem. Look like I part.
see, yata
Mm.
sarvani, what is the verse?
Sarva Bhutani, that is the.
Yata pravrittir bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tamabhyarcha siddhim vindati manavaha, right? So that is what we
Mm.
saw in 18th chapter. So
Pravritti.
that is pervading in and through all of creation,
Yeah.
doing your swakarma,
Mm-hmm.
siddhim vindati manavaha, which is why doing that karma yoga, that is why it was said here, karma
Mm.
yoga, the ultimate karma yoga is meant for this alone. So when you're doing your karma as with an attitude of karma yoga, you're
Uh,
doing it as a yajna bhava, you're offering it everything to him. See, the karma is him, the action is him, the karta is also him.
okay.
What
So
is
that
like
that
Ram-
not I in that sense of ego or self, that self, but you're saying that you have to do it, him do it. Hmm. That's the yajna bhava. That right? No.
the see when you
Mm.
say I'm doing it
Mm.
yajna bhava, there is
Mm.
small I which is still under the notion that it's not the big I.
Right.
There's a separateness there, a little bit of separateness. I'm doing it
Mm.
as yajna bhava. So
Mm-hmm.
that little bit of tinge of doership is there.
Mm.
That will also disappear
Mm.
in the Chaitanya because in the Chaitanya there's no doership. So when you
Mm.
discover, uh,
Mm.
as you practicing karma yoga, you're getting purer and purer in your mind, and
Mm.
then you're exposing yourself to this knowledge. And with the grace of the Shastra, grace of the Guru, your own Atma Kripa, then that discovery happens. When that happens, God knows. But that discovery happens, then it all gets sublimated. Even that small doership, then that yajna bhava also is not there. You're just doing it. You've become a, you're not become a jnani. You have discovered that you're none other than that fullness, that chaitanya. So then that small I merges with the big I, and then there is only the big I, nothing else. Nothing else there that exists apart from that. So a sarvakarma sannyasi does not need to perform with yajna bhava. He just perform. The sense organs and the mind are just doing their job. He is just detached. He is unattached to that. Pashyan, shrinvan, sprishan, jigran, ashnan, gachan, swapan, swashan. All that is just happening. He is no longer in that bind of the gunas even. He becomes a gunatita. Sattva, rajas, tamo gunas, he's beyond that. That is why self blame and blaming others has to be dropped. Because the moment you blame others, you're putting yourself in a victim consciousness. And the moment you blame yourself, you're putting yourself in the culprit consciousness. Either which way, you are attributing kartritva. In the victim consciousness, you are the object of the action. Someone else has done something and you are affected by it. So you're considering your atma as an object, as a karma of that thing, and you're experiencing pain. I'm affected, I'm sad, I'm miserable. Whereas on the other side, self-blame is you are attributing doership to yourself, kartritva to yourself. You say, oh, I've done this, I'm a sinner, I've done this terrible deed. Either which ways, you're reeling in ajnana. Which is why being an anasuya is so beautiful. Being an anasuya, do not blame anyone, and do not blame yourself. I think we'll stop here. I just want to see, when you say I'm affected, then Atma is looked upon as an object, a karma, that is something affecting it. This object can be a person, an event, or even Ishvara. Anyone who looks upon Atma as an object does not know Atma. The samsari's ignorance, ajnana, is such that not only does the person look upon himself or herself as a karma object, and also as a karta, which only heightens the ajnana. So here we want to dilute the ajnana, and dilution of the ajnana happens by doing this manana, by exposing ourselves to this knowledge. One looks upon oneself as a doer, otherwise one could not be a sinner. Unless a person performs action, there is no way of sinning, nor is there any way of gathering karmas and karma phalas. I will read this other part. Some other people take the Atma do not take the body as Atma, but believe that there is a survivor of this body. Most religious people believe this to be so. They believe what? That there is a survivor of this body. Even the nihilist Buddhists believe that you are born again and again. Therefore, moksha for them is realizing that Atma is zero, non existent. They believe in the survival of the Atma until enlightenment, whatever their concept of enlightenment may be. So this is little different train of thought. They're talking about the Buddhists and religious people who think that the Atma is the survivor of the body. They talk of an Atma other than the physical body, refer to a soul which survives death. Any given soul is the Karta, he or she is the sinner, and so on. It is a belief that at the same time, people do look upon that Atma, the survivor, the soul, as one who is subject to all kinds of karma, all kinds of punya, papa, imperfections, and so on. So, this is the Pratipakshas, um, the Purva Pakshis. They believe that,
Guru Pakshi.
yeah, they believe that the soul survives the body, survives death, and the soul is subject to papa punya. And as one who may get some kind of bliss experience later. All these beliefs were negated here by Krishna. So these were all negated. Bhashyakara mentions specifically those who consider themselves to be great scholars and yet say there is no way of knowing the Atma. They say that knowledge of the Atma free from kartritva, doership, is not possible. This is the Purva Pakshi stand. And therefore, Sarva Karma Sannyasa is also not possible. So, this is the contention of who? Of the Purva Pakshi. Tomorrow we'll see how I am not the doer.
Yeah. One quick question on the, when we say that at the time of death, the Sukshma Sarira and Karna Sarira is the one um, leaves the body, right?
Hmm.
That has the impression based on what are this
Hmm.
uh, accrual of this karma phala uh, that causes another birth cycle.
Right.
But in terms of the Atma, that Atma is only one. I mean, the whole, like, it's not like this, just because this Bhavan, this body dies, then this Atma takes, put on another body, like that way we read, right? Like in one of the sloka that, like you're taking your clothes off and putting another
Right.
new clothes, like that you take the new body. That mean that Atma is supposed to not have any impression or anything like that, right? I mean,
Hmm.
that that Atma could be the same Atma that it, it's there's no other Atma, there's only one Atma, right?
That is why, see, all this is just an illusion. This is all drama.
Yeah. So when you say that, okay, we are
And
taking another body, that means
uh,
we are, that same Atma is coming into you. Of course it is. I mean, I even asked that question
as
because
yeah, as
mm,
long as the notion that I am
mm,
the doer exists,
mhm,
you experience karma. You do karma, you get karma phala, and that karma phala keeps you in this cycle, continuing,
mm.
taking another body,
Because
another.
of that ajnana
Yeah,
continues. When the ajnana is removed that I am not the doer,
mm.
then that's the knowledge point.
Which is why
How
seva is important. Seva is
uh,
what it brings us to that state of non-doership.
non-doership. Mm.
So
I
that is
am not the one doing it.
seva,
Okay.
satsang, sadhana. All
Mm.
that's so important. Sadhana is to cleanse yourself, cleanse your impurities of raga dveshas. You're
Mm-hmm.
living a life of discipline. In order
Right.
for you to do your sadhana, it requires discipline, right? So you need to let go of your raga dvesh. Oh, I like my sleep. I want to sleep some more time. Where is your
Yeah.
sadhana? Sadhana goes for a toss. So
Right.
sadhana purifies your raga, gets you out of raga dvesha.
Mm.
Then you do your um, seva, satsang. The satsang, you're pursuing knowledge, you're pursuing the truth. You're keeping the company of the truth. So this knowledge is the Brahma Jnana. It is like that Brahmarakita. It goes on saying Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. So you're exposing yourself to this knowledge. The pramana, that is knowledge. And how does the pramana work? It is not establishing the Atma. Atma is already there. It is only removing the notion that you are the body, that you are, that the, that you.
Misconception about the
So that notion is
Atma.
removed. So therefore, satsang is important. And seva is important for you to dilute this doership.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Nice. So we'll stop here. I'll just play a 5-minute meditation. We'll meditate and then we can leave.
It's,
Oh, yeah.
no, it's nice that we're doing the meditation. Yeah, we should keep that.
Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Shri Krishnarpanamastu.
चलो विल डू ए शॉर्ट मेडिटेशन. हाँ, सब लोग आराम से बैठ जाइए. एवरीवन सिट कंफर्टेबली इजली. रीढ़ की हड्डी सीधा रखे. लेट्स कीप आवर स्पाइन इरेक्ट. Let's take our attention to the top of the head. And become aware of the vast sky above the head. सिर के ऊपर विशाल गगन है. उस गगन से तरंग हमारे सिर पर पड़ रही है इस वक्त. इसका स्मरण करें. Become aware of the vast space and cosmic rays from the universe falling on your head right this moment. मुस्कुराते मुस्कुराते सारे तरंगों को अपने भीतर स्वीकार करें. With a smile, receive all the vibrations, cosmic vibrations, into your body. Vedic chantings are happening. All other sounds are there. Just welcome them all. मंत्र घोष भी चल रहे कहीं दूर. पूरे वातावरण में पवित्र तरंग उठ रहे हैं. इन सब को आप स्वीकार करें अपने भीतर. Let's also chant Om. हम भी 3 बार ओंकार का ध्वनि करते हैं. गहरी सांस लीजिए. रिलैक्स योर होल बॉडी, पूरे शरीर को ढीला छोड़ दें. Let every cell in our body start to relax, expand, and smile. ओम शांति शांति शांति. और धीरे धीरे आंखें खोल सकते हो. Slowly and gradually you may open your eyes.